The night glittered like gold, chandeliers blazing, cameras flashing. A sea of applause echoing through the grandest ballroom in New York. The city's richest man, William Hawthorne, stood on stage, his diamond cufflinks catching the light. To him, this was routine, another gala, another reminder that power still bowed to his name. But across the room, a woman in a black satin gown watched quietly. Ava Mitchell. Young, composed, and unreadable. He didn't know her story, or how dangerously close she already was to rewriting his. When William called her up for a special acknowledgement, the laughter came first, mocking, careless, cruel. But what he didn't realize was that the woman he was laughing at wasn't there for applause. She was there to end his reign. And in less than an hour, the man who owned everything would have nothing left. Ava Mitchell wasn't supposed to be in that room. At least that's what most of them thought. Born in Atlanta, raised by a mother who cleaned offices at night, Ava had built her empire brick by brick. She'd graduated top of her class, worked 2 jobs, and turned a small consulting firm into Mitchell Equity Group, a quiet powerhouse buying failing corporations and rebuilding them. But she never sought fame. She learned early that real power moved in silence. And that's exactly how she approached the biggest deal of her life, a discreet multi-billion-dollar acquisition that would make history. The only person standing in her way was William Hawthorne, an old billionaire whose company controlled the final asset she needed. Arrogant, untouchable, and famously dismissive of anyone who didn't look or sound like him. When his office ignored her proposals for weeks, she didn't argue. She smiled, because Ava knew something William didn't. His empire was already cracking from the inside. So when she received an invitation to his charity gala, she went, not as a guest but as a warning. The ballroom pulsed with money. Crystal glasses clinked, laughter rose in waves, and every conversation smelled like old power. William Hawthorne, silver hair slicked back, stood at the microphone, announcing donations like trophies. And tonight, he said, we honor a young businesswoman who's been making surprising progress. His smile was syrupy. Let's give a hand to Miss Ava Mitchell. All eyes turned. Cameras followed as Ava walked toward the stage. Her steps were steady, her expression unreadable. William extended a hand, then leaned toward the mic. Quite an achievement, he said, voice laced with amusement. A black CEO owning all that. Impressive. And a little unexpected, don't you think? Laughter rippled through the crowd. Nervous, uncertain, ugly. Ava simply looked at him. Her silence made him uneasy. He thought he had humiliated her. He didn't know the truth. That very night at exactly 9 p.m., Mitchell Equity was set to announce a major acquisition. One so large it would send shockwaves through Wall Street. What William didn't realize was that his company, Hawthorne Global, was the target. The deal had been in motion for months, quietly through subsidiaries and shell holdings. Every time William ignored her emails, he was unknowingly signing away pieces of his own empire. The countdown was already ticking. 9 p.m., the moment the announcement would go live. On stage, William smirked, raising his glass. A round of applause for our guest of honor, he said. Ava smiled, not because she was honored, but because his clock was almost up. As the applause echoed, Ava's phone vibrated once. 9:00 p.m. She stepped forward, her voice calm and even. Thank you, Mr. Hawthorne, she said. You're right. Tonight is unexpected. For both of us. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Behind them, on the massive screens displaying donor highlights, a news alert appeared. First, no one noticed. Then gasps spread like wildfire. Breaking news: Mitchell Equity Group acquires Hawthorne Global in landmark $6.3 billion deal. The room went silent. Reporters scrambled for their phones. William froze, color draining from his face. Ava turned toward the audience, her voice steady and cold. Power, she said, isn't measured by how loud you speak, but how well you build what they can't see coming. She left the stage as the cameras exploded in flashes. William's name was already plummeting on the market screen behind her. The company he mocked her for approaching was no longer his. Within minutes, The man who once laughed at her had become the employee of the woman he tried to humiliate. By morning, the story was everywhere. The woman who took the empire. Interviews poured in. Investors celebrated her composure, her intelligence, her strategy. Ava refused to comment. She didn't gloat. She didn't need to. Her silence spoke louder than any statement ever could. William Hawthorne disappeared from public life within weeks. The company's name changed, the leadership transformed, and a new foundation was born, the Mitchell Initiative, dedicated to funding minority entrepreneurs who were once shut out of boardrooms like that gala. Ava stood on the same stage a year later, not as someone mocked, but as the keynote speaker. And as she looked at the new crowd, young faces filled with hope, she said one sentence that would echo long after the applause ended. They can laugh at your beginning, but never let them own your ending. The crowd rose to its feet, because sometimes revenge isn't loud. It's silent, strategic, inevitable. And that night, one woman's silence became the sound of an empire falling.